Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. Today we're looking at this, which is a new machete coming to us from ESEE and Expat. This is the Darien Machete. So let me roll in some video here so you can see it up close and personal. I'll tell you a couple things I noticed about it. First thing is your price point. Most ESEE knives, fixed blades, they're going to run you $100 or more. This one's going to run you closer to around $60, give or take. The other thing is that I think over at Knife Center they described the handle as the type of handle you could hold on to and use this tool all day long, and I can tell you that's absolutely true. It's a very neutral handle, which I like on a knife, and for a machete, since you want to be able to use it in a variety of different ways, chopping, slicing, some smaller tasks, some larger tasks, I love that it's a neutral handle. I definitely would recommend a lanyard when you're using it, and we'll show you that in a little bit, but cool looking knife. Let me show you the Expat logo up there. You can see that. There it is, Expat. So some people say, who is Expat? Well, Expat is a real person, part of the kind of broader ESEE team, an adventurer, definitely a person who knows about tools, knives, and things like that. There's some information. I'll put a link down below to the information on Expat, so you can learn a little bit more about the knives and the tools that are made by Expat, and also who Expat actually is. I saw this and was like, wow, that's very reasonably priced. I wonder if anybody's reviewed it. And then I saw that Ruben and Patrick from ESEE have some footage from Instagram, so you can see what that looks like. They do some cooking in bamboo, utilizing this as their tool. So that's cool to see that. I'll definitely show you what this looks like in use. Let me give you some of the details first, and then we'll actually show you what it looks like to use this tool. Okay, your end-to-end length, 18.1875 inches. Your thickness is 0.094, so you're definitely going to get some flex out of this, which is definitely what you want in a machete. Your steel is 1075, which for a lot of chopping tools, that's the preferred steel for many people. I would definitely say for a machete, 1075 is good because it's going to be able to be cleaned up in the field more easily than a super high-end steel. And then obviously, since you're going to use this for chopping and more aggressive use, if you get dings in it, you want to be able to clean those up really quickly. So 1075 for your steel. Your blade length is 12.375 and your handle length is 5.1825 inches. Now another great thing about this tool is your weight is 15.5 ounces, so very lightweight. Again, you're going to be using this a lot for chopping and slashing. You don't want something that makes you exhausted. Your Rockwell hardness is 54 to 56, again because it's 1075, the thinness, the weight, the flex, just going to offer you a lot of versatility. I've said this a million times probably, but I love the ESEE Hungless, the original. The Hungless 2 I like, but the Hungless, the original, is my favorite all-time cutting tool of any sort. But I tend toward liking this type of tool. I do see the utility of an axe or a hatchet, but comparing an axe and a chopper or a nicely made machete, I'll take a machete just because I find I'm using it more in the way that I utilize a chopping tool out in the woods. I'm not felling huge trees. I don't need that type of tool. So I really like a tool like this when I'm out in the woods. You can probably tell by looking, but the handle is micarta. You do get a canvas sheath for it. Nothing to write home about, but this is also how they save you some money when it comes to actually what it's going to cost you as the buyer. So you could certainly get a custom kydex. I always recommend Black Bear custom kydex. I'll put a link down below in the description section. He makes great kydex. It does its job. It's definitely got a good amount of stitching. You can see on the back there, so it's not like they just loop it over, put one set of stitching, and it's good. This thing will definitely, it'll work well for you as far as a sheath. So to take it out, obviously you're going to take the button off. This is not one of those unidirectional buttons. You can unsnap it any direction, and then just make sure when you take it out, you're careful that you don't run the blade along this little tab, because obviously you'll slice it and that would be bad. Snap it, you're good to go. Here's a quick look at it in the sheath and on my belt. Obviously it's going to move nicely, which is good when you're climbing over things. Unsnap this, draw the machete out, there you go. And then again, just be careful when you're sliding it back in that it doesn't the blade doesn't run along your snap here. And there you have it. All right, so first task we'll do is a little bit of detail work. I got a piece of pine here with the machete. Now my favorite way to make curls for a feather stick is to plant your blade in a log and then pull against it. But just to show you, I got this not locked in on anything, this not locked in anything, and it's floating up here, and even at a slightly awkward angle, you'll see that I'll be able to get some nice curls here as I get it started. Obviously you can see I'm cutting with this portion down toward the handle section. close to the handle as far as what portion of the blade I'm using. And this is probably the clumsiest way that you could possibly do a feather stick out like this. But it definitely does the job. Comes nice and sharp too. I wouldn't say it's razor sharp, but it is it's quite sharp. So just awkwardly doing that here, you can see there's some very basic feathers, but they would work. You can also see here that even as I took that feather stick off, I actually made a kind of a sharpened edge here. So just bringing it to a little bit more of a point. You can see I got a little bit of a tip there. There you go. I mean, you could see it does that work as well. And like I said, one of the things I like about this handle, just kind of blocky, chunky, just makes it easier to hold on to. If it's over textured and your hand doesn't fit nicely into where all those contours are, it just can exhaust you pretty quickly. So I made this point here, but let's just say I was, wanting to carve something down. I could certainly do that quite easily. All right, just to do a little chopping here. Again, if I was processing down some wood, yeah, man, I'm telling you, that handle is, well, that was easy. The handle's awesome. Super, super comfortable to hold. Very controlled chopping here. I'm not swinging wildly right now. And here you go, and through there. So even just processing down some wood for making a fire, super, super comfortable at this point. Got something a little bit thicker here. One of those techniques you often see with a machete is people chopping in and then popping the wood out. So just to show you what that looks like. That's why it's nice to have that 1075, a little bit more flex for you. I could swing real aggressive and chop through this quickly if I wanted to. But just to show you the process here. So there it breaks through. There's that. A little bit more aggressive chopping. Got a down piece of wood. I think it's oak, but just to give you a sense with some of the more aggressive chopping, I'm actually going to put that lanyard on now, twist it once to see lock my hand in better. Flip that to the side. Now, if I were really processing this in the woods, not reviewing, I would have just snapped it off there because it was easy enough to do, but you can see that broke through quite easily. I mentioned this is my preferred method for a feather stick, so I found this little log here. Let me show you what this looks like. I mean, I'm already getting some really nice curls off it. Try some different spots on the blade. If you guys haven't ever tried making a feather stick this way, maybe it takes a little bit of time to get used to, but you just have so much more control. And there's some feathers. A little more feathering work with the Darien. Let me share a couple things I've learned over the years about machetes and machete use. First thing is that, I like to rock a lanyard. You don't have to do that. One of the advantages of having this kind of neutral handle is that it allows you to have a lot of flexibility, kind of to flick the wrist, and that's part of the way you want to use a machete, is that it's not just kind of this, like you're using a long bladed axe or something like that. That the flicking of that is really good. Now when you add a lanyard, you have more control, obviously. The other thing is that if you take the lanyard off, right, so here's your lanyard, run your hand like from the bottom side up like this, and if you make it big enough, you can slide this up your arm, and then you can hold on like this to the machete if you want to do some more detail work. So just to show you, I've got some sticks around here. Let me grab a piece of wood. But if you want to do some detail work, you can, this is a little bit awkward to do it kind of backwards, but I could lock in and carve here, and now I got my hand locked in on the machete. I could even use the tip for something if I wanted to do some real detail work. Obviously this is just rotten, but you can see using the machete like this is also another tool. Certainly you're not going to chop like this, but that gives you another option as far as a way to use a machete. But yeah, that big thing is when you're using the machete, you want to have a little bit of that flexibility as far as when you're chopping. You're basically like, you know, your thumb and your first finger. So as you're chopping, you're getting kind of that flick of the wrist, giving a little bit more movement to the machete. So yeah, I mean, I've chopped on and off camera. It looks like it's in pretty good condition. Part of that is just the patina that they have on the blade, which is cool because then you're using it, you're beating it up, and it still looks like pretty much brand new. Now I'm like 95% sure this is actually manufactured by Condor Tool and Knife, and that makes sense because I believe they call that the Condor Edge that they have on there. I do think that, you know, the quality control looks really good on this. It's kind of a you know, a rustic tool. A lot of the Expat knives or tools are, so that makes sense to me. The spine is not like a super sharp 90 degree, but you can definitely throw a spark off that, and I'll show you that right now. So I got my Exotech. That's always on my keys, and you want to get as close as you can. Up here, it's a little bit more. You can feel a little bit more of that 90 degree angle. So you could definitely get a spark with the spine there. And then it's not rounded. I wouldn't call it rounded at all, but that also means that, you know, if you want to, you know, get a piece of wood and you want to get some shavings, you can definitely do this with the knife. All right, so some overall thoughts on this machete. First of all, the handle, like I said, is just great. I think it's the best part of the whole tool. It's just because if you have a comfortable handle, then like it says, I think I said on the Knife Center description, you can chop all day with this. Super comfortable. Throw a lanyard on, you know, smaller lanyard, bigger lanyard, whatever works for you. But with a lanyard and that nice chunky neutral handle, I think it's a super comfortable tool to use. I like 1075 for a machete or other chopping tools. One of my favorites is the LT Ray Overland machete, and that's in 1075 as well. So the sheath I showed you, it's still here on my belt. It's nothing to write home about, but it carries the tool. If you're going to commit to this as being a tool, maybe you want to get something in Kydex or leather, but yeah, I mean, it does the job, and you're definitely saving money. If you're buying this, you're not paying a lot of extra money for a sheath that's like, you know, they're trying to play it off like it's amazing. It does the job, it's functional, nothing amazing though. I do really like that patina. I think that's really cool that you can, you know, use it and it's gonna look like it's like it just came out of the box here. A little bit of dirt there. Hope you can see that on my blade right there, but still looks quite new. If you're looking for something to process a ton of wood for fires or making huge shelters, then an axe is probably what you want to go to. If you want to, you could definitely baton with this. I haven't, but it'll work fine for some, you know, smaller pieces of wood. I wouldn't, you know, even though the length is quite long, since it's not super thick, I wouldn't go crazy with it or something. It's not like a, you know, like I'm thinking about the BK2 from K-Bar is a 1/4 inch, and there's other 1/4 inch knives out there, the ESEE 5. This is definitely thin, but you could still process down some wood. I would encourage you, if you were processing wood, you know, it'll certainly, if you had a piece of wood that was like this wide, certainly it'll go through that, no problem. If you get a thicker piece of wood, you know, if this was 3 times as wide, I would put it a little bit through, process down, a little bit over, process it down, and then you can break that wood up quite nicely. You know, I think like I said, the biggest one is the handle. I think another really great thing about it is that you've got Expat and ESEE working together, Condor Tool and Knife. You got a bunch of companies that are working together that I like their products. ESEE makes, well, I'm trying to think of my top 5 favorite survival knives. I think they make 2 of them with the ESEE 6 and then also the hungless. So I definitely stand 100% behind ESEE and the products that they make, and Expat being connected to ESEE. This is something that I think you're going to be quite happy with. This plus a small knife, I think, like this, plus like the I really like the ESEE Azula or the CR 2.5. Great combination. Larger chopping tool, smaller tool. I think those would definitely be wins. So, you know, one thing that people often note is that if you live in the northern part of North America, then they're like, well, you know, you should have an axe. I agree, especially in the winter. That's a great tool. But for me, a lot of the, like I said, a lot of the chopping I do, a chopper or a well-made machete can do the job. And so this will be something that I look forward to using more and more here in New Hampshire. We're in the end of spring, almost about to hit the beginning of summer now. So, you know, I don't have a lot of frozen wood around here. So this will definitely be getting some use during this time. So let me hear your thoughts on it. What do you like? What would you change? The price point right now, as I just checked, say 70 bucks on average. Yeah, I think that's a good investment for what you're getting here. But let's hear your thoughts, comments. You like machetes? Have you used other expat tools, other ESEE knives as well? Let's get the discussion started in the comment section down below. Thanks as always for checking out the videos here on YouTube. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids if you haven't done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, Tumblr, and Vero as well. More videos coming soon. Take care.